Hello guys, it's me, Matt. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me. Hope you're dealing with all the craziness going on in the world right now. Maybe some tanks can get your mind off things for a while. We are talking about the beautiful Abrams main battle tank, particularly of that of the United States. Of course, other nations around the world are utilizing the Abrams, but today's topic is talking about drones, and how drones could potentially be launched off the back or the top of Abrams to utilize on the battlefield. This is something I've always wondered why we're not doing it sooner. Drones hasn't been a new technology. In fact, it's been around for a very long time. UAVs and small little quadcopters, they're everywhere. Civilians can use them. And in terms of what they can do on the battlefield, it's exponential, the opportunities you can use with these things. Whether it's reconnaissance, potentially laying landmines, detonating landmines, it's just so much things that these can do in tank warfare. Now, the Americans have a lot of development going on with DARPA and the technological research on drones, whether it be, the more advanced, high-flying, hellfire-launching beasts that the Air Force use, to the little tiny ones that are about the size of an insect. But the Abrams is looking at having commanding drones on the battlefield itself, and the newer version of the tank in the future will be able to carry out new missions that are vital to winning wars of today. Now, why is this topic coming up, do you say? Well, it's because recently there's been a couple of articles, and this one which I'll be reading from today from the National Interest, talking about specifically the Abrams getting this drone. Now, the armoured ability to bring huge amounts of firepower and the spearhead of, the armoured battle group and the punch to the front of the battlefield is unparalleled. The tank really is still going to be on the battlefield for the long term, especially if they're investing in things like drones into there. But there are some interesting ways in which the technology, networking and unmanned systems are expanding its potential combat applications, and therefore multiplying its complete warfare impact, which means the tank is going to get a big upgrade in its overall tactics, let alone its equipment. There should be a major force-on-force engagement with a technically advanced rival force for this to be utilised properly. The Abrams appears to be the only major platform capable of the kind of massive firepower-driven engagement for the US military. When it comes to head-on, tank-on-tank engagements, the Abrams are going to be at the forefront. And the M1A2 SEP V3 variant is the more capable and more advanced US Army platform for the Abrams. We know the Marines are going to be losing their Abrams. Press F in chat and rip. Unfortunately, it is the future of the Marine Corps is to actually start getting rid of tanks, which I've done a video on. But the SEP V3 operates with new systems, a lot of new systems, GPS connectivity, moving map displays, threat-based intelligence data, force tracking system, upgraded engine, transmission, active protection system, you name it, this tank is really getting injected a lot of money, a lot of technology, and a lot of tactical changes. Now, the onboard computing electronics are intended to add the technical infrastructure for yet another series of upgrades to upgrade to the V4 variant, and this will bring the third generation of forward-looking infrared sensors. It's a new generation of ammunition data links and an entirely new varied and adjustable and much more dependable multi-purpose round ammunition that can actually fire high explosive anti-tank rounds, multi-purpose rounds and canister rounds intended to expand dispersed fragmentation for anti-personnel lethality. What that means is when you fire the round, it's programmable ammunition, and that's just the start of it. What this amounts to is an increasingly enabled tank that can take on a huge mission scope. And in top of this is the drones. For the Abrams V3 and V4, they are being engineered to perform both the traditional tank combat operations, but also the entirely new sphere of tactics needed in warfare today. These tactical dynamics explain why the Army continues to refine new concepts of traditional combined Army maneuver tailored for the new generation of threats. Now, when you think of drones, you think the infantry using them, right? Dotting around, getting reconnaissance, using them as even potentially weapons. You've got, there's an M4 locked onto the bottom of a quadcopter. It's all really cool stuff. But in the infantry world, they have weapons like this soldier on the back of him is carrying to deter them, to knock them out of the sky. Drones are not these invincible pieces of technology that just change the battle forever, and also the enemy has them too, but there are weapons that can take them out. They're not the invulnerability system that can be used to help the battlefield be an easier place to work in. Unfortunately, there's always something to counter something else, and it's no different for the Abrams if it was to get this kind of drone technology. The scary thing about drones is they can be captured. The information can be taken from them. It can be just as detrimental than it's much a benefit to the battlefield and those in command of them. Especially in a tank engagement, if you have a drone that has just captured an entire armored battle group's worth of information of not only the enemy but of yourself, An artillery fire mission would be a juicy little target for the video footage that could be taken from that quadcopter or that drone and placed back upon your own battle group. All the footage you're looking at right now has been filmed on a quadcopter, and of course an enemy quadcopter or drone is never going to get this close. But it does give you a little bit of retrospect to think that maybe drones isn't the best solution, but is an option for reconnaissance and scouting ahead and trying to find out what's going on. There's a consensus that the heavily armoured ability to attack and fire upon and close in with a major enemy is something for which, for at least for the moment, there is not the equivalent to how much more capable the Abrams tank can be. It might look too close to earlier generations, and you might look the same, but the capabilities are mind-blowing, and they really are reducing the need for convoys of trucks and personnel to support the fight. But the drone technology that it's going to get is really kind of adding that scope of, okay, well, what else can this thing do? A lot of people have discussed about the drones being actually able to, I guess, be a wingman of the tank and protect it from infantry assault, whether they're in urban operations, etc., and allow it to have less focus on the commander trying to scout out what's about to attack them and focus on what their objective is. These drones could be in multiple groups, almost swarm-type technology, that creates a bubble of drones around the battle group or around the tank platoon that protects them from anti-tank guided missiles. There's a lot of discussion about drones that can be active protection systems. The tank launches these drones, little miniature drones, that can actually detect incoming threats or projectiles, lock onto them, and prevent them from even reaching the tank, for instance an anti-tank guided missile, which is pretty freaking cool if that was something that could be done. Now, autonomous and semi-autonomous robotic vehicles flanking tanks in combat is also a threat. They're looking at trying to get drones that can be launched from tanks to hunt other drones. Okay, it's not always about reconnaissance and just taking pictures and videoing what's ahead. It's about finding other drones, almost like, Fox and the Hound kind of thing, trying to hunt these things down. They're coming for them. There's also the potential for resupply, and there's been a lot of interest in going into how tanks could actually have resupply of ammunition brought to them on drones. I think we're talking a little extreme right now. I mean, we are literally talking about almost helicopters being launched to drop off ammunition, especially when the future of the Abrams is supposedly going to be to a bigger gun, which I just did a video recently on the 140mm, but if that's the way we're going to go, it's certainly not going to be a quadcopter delivering you sabot rounds to your turret every day so your loader can reload up. It's just not going to happen. Also, perhaps the greatest significance of an unmanned vehicle controlled by the Abrams tank would allow the enemy to actually have a more safer and risk-reducing standoff range. So if you have that big powerful gun, well, yeah, it's only as useful as much as you can get away from the other enemy's more powerful gun. So yeah, we're going to make these bigger guns, better projectiles, launch from further distances, but you need to be able to see it, and you need to be able to track that target with that, with that drone. And the vehicle's optics on board may not be as sophisticated as the drones could be, and especially with this programmable ammunition, we're talking about potentially barrel-launched ATGMs that can follow onto the target where the drone is scouting the target to be, which is really, really cool. Very, very cool. And unmanned vehicles are quite heavy in the larger platform. That's why the infantry don't use the bigger, fatter ones, because they're just too much. They're not added value, they're not helping the soldier on the battlefield, they're more of a hindrance. With tanks, you got a lot of background to put equipment on. You got a lot of space, weight that can be used on a tank. I don't think it's going to take a lot of weight to actually slow the vehicle down or cause any hindrance, but these kind of things need to be considered when you're putting this kind of technology on there, right? You're going to have to house it, it's going to have batteries to plug it in. You're going to have someone has to remotely pilot it. I mean, whether that's the loader or the commander or the driver or the gunner. Someone in that crew has to operate this drone. Maybe it's from a command post system that follows the Abrams, or maybe you have a command Abrams that has more infrastructure inside of it for just commanding drones. You would not want the crew of the Abrams commanding these things. Maybe the commander can override it, but it would be more hindrance, I would say, if anything, to have the crew having to interact with these things. They got too much to do. Commander's looking at other things. He's got his, CITV scanning around looking for targets. His gunner's focusing on actually engaging targets. His loader's pumping rounds in the breach, and the driver's driving. So this drone technology, although useful, I don't think it's going to be really specific to crew members themselves. Manned Abrams tanks really do have the capacity to do a lot of tactical engagements with the main gun, but can you imagine if that round could be launched and you could have a drone set up to almost launch this projectile around wood lines, not wire guided, almost like the the Spike anti-tank guided missile kind of platform being launched from the barrel and the drone locks it on target. Really, really cool stuff. And this isn't new. There's been a lot of interest in this. You know, new GPS technology that's working with drones, with convoys as well. They're looking at how to improve convoy protection. As I said, you know, drones that can actually protect from infantry engagements, so that the drivers of these convoys can focus on, you know, going where they need to go. It's really, really cool. I think the technology's got a long way to come. We're not quite there yet, you know, but it's happening. The discussions are there. You know, can we use drones on tanks? And I've always said it. I really do think the future is now. We have all the technology and the ability to use this kind of stuff now. Everything's getting smaller, more robust, and more capable. So anyway, that's it for today, folks. Let's see what the Abrams does eventually bring out. It could be really interesting. This kind of dynamic could quickly change the nature of land wars for tanks. It really could. A whole new tactical dynamic. Really, really cool. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave me a like and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear your opinion on drone technology working with the armored force, especially on the Abrams. If you are operating on Abrams, first of all, I'm very jealous. Second of all, if you've heard of anything like this, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about it. I'm also really curious as to what the V4 version of the Abrams is going to look like and the other kind of technologies that will be adapted to the Abrams. A lot of people are saying, well, we need a new Abrams, we need the M1A2 and M1A2 and all this stuff. It's like, guys, just like the Challenger 2 and its own ups and downs and upgrades, there's a lot of money involved with this kind of stuff. And, you know, even a recent video I talked about the 140mm gun being changed. It's a lot of infrastructure to change that out, right? So thank you again for watching. If you did enjoy, please hit that subscribe button, and also you can become a member of my channel by clicking the membership button beside the subscribe button, so you can be part of the Legion and part of my YouTube following. And thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on Patreon, PayPal, and any other kind of financial support. It really does mean a lot. You can check out the description box for my Facebook, and also you can check out for if you want to send me any fan mail. And don't worry, for those who have been sending me fan mail, I will be opening it. I try and do it in a batch opening until I get enough, and then I open it on camera for you all. So anyway, thanks and have a wonderful day. All the best. Bye-bye.